hopefully...
Oh, I've just got a plush notification.
I should hope so.
So I nearly at the weekend contemplated lighting the wood burner.
Oh, my goodness. It's
For
not
the
quite
first
that
time.
cold yet, Carlos.
It's getting that way.
8 degrees overnight tonight, apparently.
Did you say 8?
8, yeah.
Yeah. Hello, YouTube. Hello, Mazoos. Mr. Trussell.
It's quite funny because on the Zoom feed, or the one that's going out to YouTube, you can't see Dave's head. Which is
Oh, he's definitely here.
Yeah, no, I know, but as I say, you can't see that on the. I love that.
Yeah, true. That is Jason. Lot long finished work and it's getting dark. Yeah. Hello, Tanya.
Oh, hi, Tanya.
Hello.
Right.
You comfy there, my man? You sit there for the next 3 hours, I suppose. 2 hours.
I bet you will. 3 hours?
2 hours, sorry.
If we suddenly become ABG.
He'll sit here. He'll sit here. Oh, I tell you what, those pumpkin spice cake new coffee pods I got.
Oh, yeah.
An espresso machine. Oh, my Lord.
Are they horrible, are they?
Oh, oh dear.
Lovely.
I did notice that after I brought them, they sold out on the Nespresso website.
Right. Oh. There you go.
Hello, Mr. Bone. Mr. Falk, good evening. Mr. Cruz. Yeah, I'm trying to limit myself to one posh coffee a day before I go to work in the morning.
All right. Limit yourself.
Well, I'd gladly sit and probably have about 2 or 3 on the bounce.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Of the coffees, and that's probably not the best idea to do, to drink a ton of coffee, but
Well, keep you alert, dear.
yeah, it would do. Yeah, the sweet vanilla ones are nice as well. But I think you've had one of those.
Yeah,
ones.
those ones you had before. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just don't. I don't think I could ever go back to have an instant coffee again.
No. When one of the first things I will probably do is treat myself to a similar machine to what you've got when the new pay packet hits.
Yeah,
that'll be my little treat to myself.
They've ironically come down in blooming price since Gemma brought me mine for my birthday. Yes, they've come
Yours
down
is a
quite bit in
Nespresso
price.
pod thing, isn't it?
Nespresso.
Nespresso, yes.
Nespresso. Yes, you're right, Captain Cruz. Definitely a cat. There is a cat here. You can't see Dave. Oh, yes, you can see. Can you see Dave?
No.
On the YouTube feed?
We can, but not on the YouTube feed.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, Dave is here with me this evening.
So you'll have to tilt your camera down if you want to. Oh, look. Bit more, because it's now disappeared again.
Oh.
There he is. You just see the head. There he is.
There we go.
He's a bit like, Daddy, what on earth are you doing?
Dave, what's this? Dave.
It's
Hello,
bright
Dave.
light. I don't like it. Bright
Hello,
light.
Dave. There's Dave. There's the boy.
I do wish you'd relax, Cat, honestly.
Look at him.
Look at it. Constantly. It's a stress head, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a beautiful boy.
Oof.
Yeah. I'd have 100, as you know.
Yeah, that would be less
Given the chance.
therapeutic, I suspect. Just saying.
It's just a shame Nigel can't be bothered to be present in the house at least.
Well, you know.
Oh, this one brought back a very small field mouse.
What, Dave?
Day before yesterday, yeah.
Did he?
But I think he's got the same workings in his head as what Poppy used to have. So rather than bring it home and do the usual cat thing and eat it or do various things to it,
just released it into the house.
he just brought it back and just let it go.
Yeah, love that. Yeah,
he is a lover, not a fighter.
Excellent.
But he, So I had to put it in a box, let it chill out for a bit, and then the next morning I got up and released it back into the field.
Nice.
That's how kind I am to
Very
nature.
Good. Get you.
But yeah, obviously didn't fancy mouse this week for food.
No.
I mean, why would you eat mice anyway? I've never understood that with cats. Some people's cats sort of like chew and eat the insides and all that kind of thing. But I just think, you've got lovely food. Why bother eating raw? But hey, that's a cat thing, isn't it?
It is a cat thing, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Righty-ho. David Bone says, my black Labrador presented me with a pigeon she found under a bush last week.
Goodness.
Oh, blimey. Ha! Oh, dear. Oh, good evening, Mr. White. Alan, good to see you in there. I shall be in your neck of the woods in another 1, 2, 3 weeks' time, Alan. I'll be with you. Definitely sampling some Guinness, that's for sure.
Oh, yes.
Is this your stag event you're going to, is it?
Yes, yeah, taking my very good friend, or my best man, to Dublin, along with his brother and stepson and his son. So, just a little group of us. Going to have a nice, relaxing weekend in Dublin. Nothing too strenuous.
Uh-huh.
No, it won't be too strenuous. We are all far too old to... well, actually, no, because his son's not. His son's only 20, but we shan't be doing anything too excited. But I shall be drinking lots of Guinness. Yes, we'll see you soon for a beer, Alan. Are you all right, Dave? Oh, Mummy's walked in, that's why. Is that itchy, your ear? Has he? Where? Oh, has he? You been buggering about? Honestly, you boys... should have made you indoor cats. Then we wouldn't have no worries then. Imagine how stress-free our lives would be, dear, if these boys were indoor cats. Well, yeah. Well, they climb the furniture anyway.
I could say they'd be climbing up the walls, I think, if that was the case.
I had to repair the cat tower at the weekend because the boys are bigger now, and all the posts that hold the bed's floors on were all starting to get rather bendy. So I had to do some structural reinforcement with some steel plates to hold the tower in place.
Oh dear, it's all that cat food you keep giving them.
Oh god, I know. It's all the dreamies.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
All the dreamies. Mark Priestley said, sorry, eating my tea, watching Top Aviation podcast, alcohol free.
Oh. I do have a bottle of Jack Daniels in here. If it weren't for the fact I got a very important appointment tomorrow, I'm...
God, I do like JD.
You can have this one if you like.
Will brought me a single malt Scotch for my birthday, but it's one of the ones that's barrel aged in a bourbon
lovely.
barrel.
Yeah.
Oh my! I cannot wait to open that and do a
I
little.
bet. Indeed. Here we go then.
Right, that's enough about drink.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 570 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. Dropped 100 episodes there. 570 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, some Ryanair passengers enjoy some tarmac time. One airline scrapes its butt on the runway with its newest aircraft, and London Gatwick is about to get a bit bigger. In the military, the UK's P8 Poseidon gets its first top-up in the UK's airspace, and the F-47 is finally going from paper to reality. We have the final wrap-up from the Bray 2025 air show, and we've also got part 2 of the fantastic interview with Alan Munro that Captain Nick very kindly did for us. So, joining me this week across the village, or across the town, I should say, from me here, it is, of course, Matt Smith.
Hello, how are you?
Very warm, funnily enough.
Right, okay.
In the lap area.
Oh, right. You were complaining about being colder earlier and lighting the fire.
Yeah, definitely not now.
No,
definitely not now.
I bet.
Yeah, I've got a fur coat on.
Lovely. Yes, just
technically.
Yes. Okay. All right.
This must be what it must be like to be Scottish wearing a kilt.
Right. Okay. So many jokes, so little time.
Except mine's a feline coat. Anyway.
Well, quite. Yes.
Good to see you, Mr. S, in the P2K Master Suite studio, as always. Bit cooler in there now, I'd imagine. It's cooling down.
It's very nice now. In fact, it's nice to come in here for the extra heat now.
Yes, yes.
Honestly, we're never happy, are we?
No.
We're either too hot or too cold.
Too hot or too cold, exactly. And we're missing an Andy this week. I think he's on a train. I think he's on a train on his way home from somewhere.
I can't keep up. It's all too much. Although I must admit, I did find it very amusing. Did you see in the group chat there? And he was saying about how it was a sad indictment of his on the road lifestyle, where the hotel that he was staying at, which he stays in quite regularly, thought that he was at home. His phone thought that he was at home when he checked into that hotel, which is it's a bit sad, that, isn't it?
Honestly, must be like you, Nev, when you were staying in all those various hotels. I bet it got to the stage, I'd imagine, that some of the hotels you used to stay at, they were like, "Oh, hello, Nev, you back again?"
Yeah, it wasn't quite like Alan Partridge, but it wasn't far off. It was. I was quite well known to some of the Hilton folks in Brighton, certainly, where I used to stay a lot when I was working. So although I miss some of that, I don't miss all of it, I have to say. So
I bet.
Yes, but yeah.
Yeah, but it adds a nice kind of feeling or touch, doesn't it, Nev? I think when you go to a hotel and they remember you by name or remember.
Well, they normally call me Neil or Nigel. So, with the greatest respect to anybody that has those names, it's not my name.
It's not my name. And a Holiday Inn Express that you stayed in once had a bottle of champagne waiting for you.
It did, yes. I wonder how that got there.
I don't know it. I didn't know. I didn't know the manager or anything.
It's funny, isn't it? But, no, very grateful. Very correctly received as well. Yeah. So
no, it's good to see you as always,
thank you.
Nev.
Yeah, it's
with
been
us
a good,
on the show this week.
Bit of an expensive week. The car went in for its first service on Monday, but I do not take it to the Ford main dealer.
Oh, why have I not, Nev?
Because they're.
Charlotte,
I just don't. I just they're not my cup of tea, and because they've got so many different franchises now, you can't even park the blasted car anymore in the car park.
Oh, no.
So that's a bit of a non-runner. But gosh, haven't the labour rates gone up, and hasn't the price of oil gone up? 5.4 litres of it.
Yeah.
70 quid, I think it was. So yeah, quite a lot. But anyway, it's only once a year. So, but there we are.
Yeah, they didn't have
David Bone, by the way, in the chat room is saying that I'm Scottish, and whilst wearing the kilt can be great, it can quite often land you in trouble. Still, that's usually down to the excessive drinking that normally accompanies the use of a tartan. We'll just call it a kilt.
Kilt.
He's put skirt on there. I don't feel comfortable saying that.
Good evening to Simply Bespoke Travel there in the chat room. Just popped in for the beginning of the show. Lovely to see you in there.
Love that.
Love that. But we've got loads to get through on the show tonight. As we said, we've also got our Retro Airline Ad of the Week, which, again, I've just... honestly, because Nev is so awesome, I've chosen this week again another BA ad, especially for you, Nev.
Oh.
But I'm looking forward to you seeing this ad, Nev, to reflect on the level of customer service that there is in this advert with BA.
Oh, compared to what there is now.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think about that one.
Yes, we'll have a look.
Yes, and as we said, we've also got obviously the some awesome interview. And our final one from Bray as well. But we're going to take a look in the chat room, see who's in there this week. Starting off at the top of the list, we have Captain Cruz is in the chat room. Mazoos, hello to you. Jason Trussell. Tanya's in there, our visitor from the US who joined us for our meetup. Hello, Tanya. John Falk's in there. Hello to you. David Bone. We have got Hobby Time. Says, hi, guys. Is your ear itchy, my man? Sorry, Dave's ear's itchy. We've got Richard E. Flagg in there. He keeps flicking his ear. Richard E. Flagg, hello to you. We've got Alan White, our Irish contingent there over in the lovely Ireland there. Alan's there. Hopefully he's got a Guinness in hand. And Neville Bounds as willing as Blue Spanner of Doom, as always in there. Good. Just flicking through. Masha, hello, Masha. Good to see you in there. Says, good evening, everyone. Mark Priestley, watching his tea. Or what I'll say, eating his tea whilst they're watching us. We've got Darren Smith, evening all plane spotters, he says. Hello to you, Darren. Good to see you in there. Stuart Aslett, our resident driver, captain of all things trains, is in there as well. Stuart, good to see you in there. Says evening all. Simply Bespoke Travel, as we said, in there. Managed to pop in again for the beginning of the show, then switching to the podcast to finish listening whilst driving. Good. John Jester, he says, hello from JetBlue 2289.
Oh, hello.
You think he's using Wi-Fi?
I suspect he might be.
Blimey, John. Masha is in there. Where's Dirk S? Captain Cruz is saying, where is Dirk S? It's good question, that is, actually. Yeah, where is Dirk S? John Falk, hello to you. Good to see you in there as well, John. He said, oh, I appreciate that you pronounce my surname correctly, Carlos, as many don't. Oh, really, John?
It's a first for Carlos, just saying.
Oi. Don't forget, if you're listening to us as an audio show, we are live on YouTube on a Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock. Look for our page on YouTube, Plain Talking UK. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and the bell icon. Make sure you click that one to be notified when Matt's pressing that go live button. Right, should we do some commercial news?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
yeah, sure. Okay.
Let's go.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
I wonder if John Jester's in JetBlue Mint spent a few quid. You never know. First story comes to us from where this link is. I forgot to put the link in this one. Anyway, it's about Spirit. They're going to be furloughing 1,800 flight attendants to cut costs in second bankruptcy. Spirit Airlines said on Monday it's preparing to furlough 1/3 of its flight attendants after filing for its second bankruptcy in a year as the carrier grapples with dwindling cash and mounting losses. The low-budget airline will temporarily lay off 1,800 flight attendants from its total strength of approximately 5,200 effective December. Oh, what a nasty time to get rid of people. Spirit filed for bankruptcy again last month after a previous reorganisation failed to put on a firmer financial footing. The company forewarned job cuts in a memo sent to employees last Wednesday, adding that it also plans to slash flight capacity by 25% year over year by November. They said we need to shift our focus to a complete right-sizing of the airline, which means volume-based adjustments to our flight attendant group, the airline said in an email to employees seen by Reuters on Monday. The Association of Flight Attendants, in a separate memo seen by Reuters, said the problem is a significant reduction of aircraft and flight hours requires a much higher reduction in force, and the company is clear that a furlough is necessary. The airline, with more than 800 staff, voluntary sent absent now, has so far relied on voluntary furloughs rather than imposing mandatory ones. It will continue offering voluntary furloughs even as it moves forward with additional staffing reductions, according to the union. Voluntary furloughs are being offered for 6 months to 1 year time periods and are set to begin on November the 1st. The union also said in a memo that it's coordinating to arrange preferential interviews for its members at their other airlines. And Spirit's financial difficulties, combined with US carriers competing for premium travellers, have raised concerns that the era of ultra-low fares may be ending for budget-conscious passengers. Last week, United Airlines said it would not pursue Spirit's assets if they become available as part of the carrier's restructuring. So not good news for Spirit. Not an airline that I've flown on whilst I've been in the US. But, it's always sad to see this kind of thing happening, especially heading up towards Christmas. Not a nice time at all for this to happen.
Well, yeah, and of course this has been on the cards for a long time, isn't it? This is not really new information. Inevitably, if they were filing for bankruptcy, or the second time they filed for bankruptcy, that can only mean one thing, and that's massive job losses, not just across the flight attendants, of course, but right across the airline. The flight deck crews and engineering and all sorts of people, but also it's what I would call the supply chain as well. So ground operations and catering, all those sort of people. There'll be fewer flights, therefore there'll be less requirement for catering and everything else. So it's not just affecting the airline; it's all the knock-on effect it has as well.
And there's so much competition as well in the US, Nev, with the other carriers, especially like Southwest and that. Yeah, there is a lot more competition within the US than there is here in the UK and Europe, I think.
Yeah, certainly. Sure. And but anyway, I hope they can find a way through this and keep the thing going, and somehow find a way of getting people back at some point as well.
Very sad. Fingers crossed that things will turn around for the better for them.
Well, the only thing I would say is there are plenty of airlines who are desperate for like pilots and cabin crew, to be fair. So I guess if they can't make it work, I don't think they'll be out of work for long, if you see what I mean. The people involved, because there still seems to be, in large parts of the sector, people desperate for pilots and crew. So
So Matt, sticking with you, and going to be a Ryanair story as always.
Absolutely. UK.news.yahoo.com is the source for this one, and the headline is Ryanair passengers left furious at pilot's message as they stood on tarmac at midnight. A couple have vowed they will never fly with Ryanair again after enduring what they described as a nightmare ordeal. The pair were returning to Manchester from Faro Airport in Portugal on Tuesday evening, the 16th of September. They explained that they were scheduled to take off at 10 p.m. but found themselves standing on the tarmac tarmac while the aircraft underwent inspection. We were made to stand there with no information at all for nearly an hour, like sheep, with nobody telling us anything, one of them had said. Just after midnight, the pilot said that there was a fault with the plane and they were really sorry, but the flight was now cancelled. He said that Ryanair would provide hotels and refreshments and told us all to go back to the gate. Then, as we were walking across the tarmac, we got a text message saying that the next flight will be at 6:05 a.m. This was about 1 a.m. by this point, reports the Manchester Evening News. They allege that passengers were herded into the terminal where they encountered 3 airport staff members. There was no accommodation. We're told we would just have to wait here. One of the couple added. By this point, the airport had closed, so there were no cafes or shops open. You can't expect people to sit there for 6 hours. What about giving people a drink and some refreshment? No one got anything. They claim that passengers were shepherded into the terminal, where they were greeted by 3 airport staff. There were 200 passengers, the elderly, disabled, pregnant women, left to sleep on terminal floor in the dark as they even turned the lights off. By 6 a.m, passengers were finally able to board the replacement flight. To make matters worse, they then charged full price for teas and coffees after they'd been up all night. One passenger commented, "You just couldn't write it." The flight eventually departed around 6:30 a.m. and touched down at Manchester Airport after 9:30 a.m. with a couple by then desperate for sleep. They put everybody into a closed terminal, sitting on the floor with no food or drink, made to wait until 6 a.m. One passenger said that we were treated like cattle and there was not one apology. It was an absolute nightmare and will never fly with Ryanair again. A spokesperson for Ryanair has responded, saying that this flight from Faro to Manchester on the 17th of September was delayed due to ATC delays on the inbound flight to Faro. However, due to a minor technical issue with the aircraft, this flight was subsequently delayed overnight due to a strict curfew at Faro Airport and rescheduled to depart the following morning on the 18th of September. Passengers booked on this flight received communications via email, SMS and push notifications. Passengers were notified of the delay, advised of their options and were issued with refreshment vouchers. Despite Ryanair's efforts to arrange accommodation for passengers, availability was limited and passengers were advised that they could also arrange individual accommodation that they could claim back receipted expenses on Ryanair.com. This flight departed for Manchester the following day, the 18th of September at 6:05 a.m. local time.
There are some very good comments in the chat room, Matt.
Go on. Yeah.
David Bone kicks off with, if Ryanair were given £1 for every time someone said, "I'll never fly Ryanair again," it'd make an extra £200 million every single person who said it would always and always does fly with them again. There's loads more, Matt, if you want to follow on.
Yeah, it says Darren Smith is saying that you can arrive at Dover in a dinghy and receive better service. Oh dear. Okay, those are the opinions of Darren, obviously. Alan White, I vow that every time I fly. I vow that every time I fly on the vomit comment. What's the vomit comment? I don't know. Anyway, Masha says Ryanair doesn't run the airport, so there wasn't much that they could do.
True.
Durkes said that, well, that's what European passenger rights are for. Why complain? I mean, I suppose my only sort of thing on this is just like, I do feel like, you know, I'd need to hear the recording because it might be that the message that the pilot gave was misunderstood, shall we say. But the pilot did say that accommodation had been arranged for everyone, and when they got into the terminal, it turned out that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
That's my only issue with it. It's like that they promised something, and then for reasons best only known to them, it wasn't delivered. And that's where my big bugbear sort of lays and stuff. I mean, I don't quite know what the rules and regs are on a situation like that, Nev. Because it was 1 a.m. by this point, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, I mean, it's the airline's responsibility to get you to your destination. The problem with Faro Airport, if I remember correctly, there aren't that many hotel airports immediately in the area. They tend to be further down the road. So by the time they got all that arranged, that was some distance away. And of course, if there's no availability in the limited hotel airports that there are, that's a bit of a problem. But I noticed there's a bit of a farming theme going on there, because one minute they were treated like cattle, the next minute they were treated like sheep, it says, and they claim that passengers were shepherded into the terminal. So strange use of language there. From
the other thing I noticed on this story, Nev, just from a sort of perspective here, is at the start of the story, it's talking about the pair returning from Manchester Faro Airport in Portugal on Tuesday evening, and then when you actually read the statement from Ryanair, it was 17th of September, not 16th, departing on the 18th.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I think there's some things that aren't quite right.
Yeah, absolutely. Have we got? Did they issue a statement for the wrong flight? Is what I'm beginning to wonder. But
all the passengers were on the wrong flight. That's the thing.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the good thing is, as we all know, once you go over the 3-hour mark, isn't it, Nev? You start to be able to claim
EU 261.
Yeah,
it's your. Is your document of choice there, or UK 261? But at the end of the day, the captain's not happy with the aircraft. He's not going to take it.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with that at all. Although Ryanair's statement was that there was a minor issue that had been resolved, but it was then the curfew that was not allowing the aircraft to take off. So.
Yes, I'm surprised about that, because although there are some residential areas around Faro, obviously the approach is across the sea coming into Faro Airport, but I would imagine perhaps there is some residential area, and that's why they've got a curfew on departures, perhaps less on landings, but more on departures, perhaps.
So moving on to the next story, Nev. I know you're on about obviously diet, losing some weight and stuff, but if you're going to fly BA, Nev, I think you're going to have to definitely do that.
Well, you might be surprised at my opinion on this right when we get to the end of the story. But it's on paddleyourown.canoe.com, and it says that British Airways has quietly downsized the meal service in its Club Europe business class cabin on domestic flights. And the decision to shrink its food offering is reportedly linked to the airline's now infamous supersized premium cabins on short-haul flights. Lacking any formal announcement or warning, passengers who had been looking forward to a hot breakfast on domestic flights between London and destinations such as Edinburgh and Aberdeen only discovered that British Airways had removed the option when they boarded their flights. BA no longer offers a full English breakfast or a vegetarian omelette on these flights, and instead has replaced this more substantial offering with a small fruit plate, yoghurt and pain au chocolat. According to menus posted by disgruntled passengers online, the downsized meal now contains a total of 501 calories. Well, cabin crew have admitted that the new breakfast offering is part of a trial to address time constraints serving passengers on relatively short domestic flights, eliminating the need to cook meals or offer customers a choice between different dishes. I will just insert my own comment here that back in the day, both British Airways and British Midland were able to do a full service on a 737, A320 or a 757 on those shuttle routes. Yes, it was a bit hectic at times, but they're able to do a full English breakfast service from London to Edinburgh or Glasgow or Aberdeen without any problem at all. But it was a bit hectic at times, I concede. However, like many European airlines, BA's short-haul business class product can be pretty underwhelming from an international perspective, with premium passengers left sitting in regular economy seats, with the middle seat in a row of 3 blocked out. The flexible divider systems allows European airlines to adjust the size of their short-haul business class cabins based on demand, maximising revenue wherever possible. The one thing that sets European airlines apart from their US counterparts, however, is that the food and drink offer is generally a lot more substantial and normally better quality as well. It's the ability of airlines to adjust the size of their short-haul business class cabins so easily that has, however, apparently led to this change. Well, back in June, BA Chief Executive Sean Doyle boasted that Club Europe was more popular than ever and that the airline had been trying to make the very most of this demand by maxing out its Club Europe cabins. Of course, that means on shorter flights, it's a struggle for cabin crew to serve a hot meal to 50 or more business class passengers. Why? Why is it difficult? I don't know. They used to be able to achieve it quite well. BA has been heavily criticised for its recent cost-cutting initiatives, such as serving breakfast for lunch in long-haul Club World business class, serving paninis as a hot dinner in Club World on flights from the East Coast, eliminating water bottles from the meal trays in World Traveller economy class. Well, all of these experiments were quickly eliminated after a furious backlash from both passengers and cabin crew, although it's important to put the latest cutbacks into perspective. Well, where should we begin?
Okay. where we're going to start first then, Nev?
Well, as I said earlier, we used to be able to do it. They used to be able to do it. I don't know what's changed. Secondly, I don't really care. Now, I never thought you'd hear me say that. But since February, when I'm no longer working, I don't really give a stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
flying what's it? Yes, no,
terribly
fair.
rude there about the whole thing. You know, it is what it is. And of course, as you can imagine, all the BA forums on Facebook have just lit up with all the abuse and all the rest of it. And they've probably got some valid points. I'm probably going to have to unsubscribe from these feeds because I'm so tempted to write something controversial that I'd be banned anyway. But honestly, it's not the biggest deal. It's a bit irritating, I concede, but as I say, back in the day, and I'm talking about the 80s and 90s now, they were able to do it without any problem at all. Although, as I say, on the shortest sectors, so that's Belfast and Edinburgh from Heathrow, yeah, it was a bit trying at times, possibly, but they seem to achieve it all right.
I mean, I suppose the flip side to that, though, of course, Nev, is if you really don't like it, then vote with your feet. You know,
well, quite.
and sort of go somewhere else. I mean, you know, to be fair to BA, they are sort of like drawing themselves in line with what seems to be a relatively common model these days. You know, with I won't say low cost because then but with the sort of the budget airlines and stuff. I mean, they're still, in my opinion, a huge step above that. I think it's just time for a realignment, isn't it?
You see, John Jester's comment, Nev, in the chat room just popped up.
Yes, indeed. Well, John says that BA is following the path of American Airlines. Not a great path to follow. Yeah, I agree with that. Anyway, it is what it is, and they say that it's an experiment, but we'll see what happens. But it's a bit of a.
It's not an experiment, though, is it? It's
No.
they're having to cut costs for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
And this is the route that they're trying for the moment. You know.
And actually, I remember, not sure about BA. Yeah, I think it was BA, but certainly British Midland. You were eating a cooked breakfast, a full English breakfast in economy as well back then. But then that was a long time ago, wasn't it? So there we go.
Yeah. If you're going to cut costs and cut service, the quality and stuff like that, then cut the price. Don't charge as much.
Yeah.
Well, although is it because the prices haven't gone up? If are they in the scenario where the prices needed to go up, but this is a way of keeping them at the existing level? If you see what I mean.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? But anyway, there we go. So that's my 2 cents worth, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Who would have ever thought that Nev would say those words? I can no longer give a stuff.
Yes.
So next up, it's flightglobal.com, and the headline: Wizz Air's first. I say this again: Wizz Air's first A321XLR suffers a tail strike during Prague landing. Definitely not something you want to do when you've got a brand new aircraft in your fleet. And this was a brand new aircraft. Central European budget carrier Wizz Air's first 321XLR has been involved in a hard landing and tail strike at Prague. The incident happened on the 11th of September, according to French investigation authority, the BEA. Now, we have got a video to play for this as well, which I think if you watch this, you'll agree it was slightly hard. BA has not given any further details regarding the circumstances of the event, but it confirms the identity of the airframe as Golf X-Ray Lima Romeo Alpha, which was only delivered to Wizz, the Air UK division of the airline, back in mid-May. The aircraft had been arriving from London Gatwick and conducted its approach to runway 24. Meteorological data from Prague indicated a good visibility, no significant weather and conditions other than variable winds at the time. None of the occupants were injured, but BEA, citing Czech counterparts, describes the event as serious. The aircraft was the first example of the Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan-powered variant of the long-range 321 XLR to be delivered to an operator following certification by the European Union Aviation Safety Agency back in February this year. Prague was the scene of another 321neo tail strike back in May, involving a Turkish Airlines aircraft which made a hard landing on runway 12. Yes, that was... What do you think of that video, Nev? It's playing on YouTube now. He sort of touches or bounces down. And
That's not a touch of it. That's
Well,
let's not bother about flaring until after it's touchdown. Then we'll flare and then we'll scrape the tail. Of course, our good chum Captain Al brought this very aircraft in from Hamburg on its delivery flight. So he's going to be terribly cross about that, isn't he?
I imagine he will be. Sternly worded emails will be going that way. As I say, Dirk Esser said in the chat room, that pilot is going to receive a call from Al. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
And a good observation from Dirk as well. XLR equals extra low on runway.
yes.
Ain't that the truth?
It was quite the scrape, though. I know there was a few pictures, doing the circles on social media, and I don't think it was. There wasn't kind of. I don't think it was any fuselage perforation, but there was definitely some paint scrapage going on that.
Oh, without question. I mean, there'll be a flat bit on the bottom of that fuselage. There's no two ways about it. Although I got visions of when they said tail strike, I sort of assumed it was from the other side, not from the bottom. If you see what I mean.
No, it was definitely the bottom, definitely for sure. Darren Smith has said in the chat room, Captain Al messed with the trim tabs. He thinks.
I bet he bloody didn't.
Oh dear! But that'll be an inspection and a hasty repair, I should imagine, Nev, after they've obviously checked all the internals and the.
There's definitely going to be a flat bit, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Priest is saying rivet heads gone. Yeah, the rivet heads will have definitely have gone.
100%.
I think if we remember correctly, both Matt and Andy have said to us in the past that you've got to be pretty careful with the A321 on landing because you can get a tail strike if things are slightly out of whack, and they certainly pranged it in, didn't they? That crew.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, you've got a bit more extra length on the 321 behind you. I think that's right, isn't there? Yeah. Yeah.
But they're very confident. Did you notice that the way that the aircraft landed, it was extremely confident, just not quite what the manual suggested was the correct technique, though.
No. And moving on to the next story where, I was say more woes for Boeing, but really this is an engine issue, not anything to do with the airframe.
Indeed. Sorry, my machine. Bear with.
Flight Global, this one is.
No. So it's a bit of a challenge when there's photos to go with the thing. So we'll put.
I can do it if you like, Matt.
We'll put it to side for one side. So it's flightglobal.com is the source, and the headline is wetly specialist. Wet lease specialist Ascend Airways faces ongoing CFM LEAP engine trouble affecting the 737 MAX fleet. So Ascend Airways is experiencing significant difficulty with the CFM International LEAP 1B engines that power its Boeing 737 MAX 8s. Chief Executive Alistair Wilson tells Flight Global that while Ascend is generally pleased with the aircraft, the UK-based wet lease specialist has found MAX 8s to be very sensitive to the environment in which you operate them. Flying in dry and dusty conditions on behalf of Oman Air last year, in addition to operation on the Indian subcontinent, has proven challenging for Ascend 737s and their latest generation of CFM turbofans. Fine sand is particularly detrimental to these engines, and it forces you into repair shop visits, Wilson said, echoing a common observation through the commercial sector. Wilson said that the LEAP engines do not spend nearly as much time on wing as the CFM 56 turbofans that power older 737 NGs, and that is very much exasperated by the environment in which you operate the aircraft. Ascend business model revolves around wet leasing aircraft to operators during the height of summer air travel in the UK, then stationing jets in counter-seasonal markets on similarly short ACMI aircraft crew maintenance and insurance contracts to boost year-round aircraft utilisation. But flying in the Middle East and North Africa can reduce the LEAP's time on wing by as much as a third, Wilson has said. On the Indian subcontinent, it's not as bad, but you're still seeing some parts within the engine with a life 50% of what you see in a benign environment in Europe. He says the challenges for us is we obviously have to account for that within our costs. Ascend's market for wet leasing in India is quite sensitive, he adds, with the average airfares around half of those in Europe. When you're trying to price in additional engine costs, that is by far our greatest challenge, he said. Ascend is not alone in struggling with the latest generation engine durability, with narrow-body manufacturers and operators alike feeling the squeeze. Airbus CEO Guillaume Faury, is that correct? Apologies if I said that.
Guillaume
Faury, my apologies, recently pointed to shortages of CFM International LEAP 1A turbofans as a major factor holding up deliveries of A320neo family jets, while Embraer CEO Sorry, I'm too tired.
This is like going back to the old days where we always used to have this on the show.
Yeah, indeed. Francisco said earlier this month that limited supply of GE Aerospace CF34 turbofans is hindering production of its E175 regional jets. In parallel, EasyJet A320neo family operators worldwide are grappling with a massively disruptive recall of Pratt & Whitney's geared turbofan, the GTF engines, which have grounded hundreds of jets on a rolling basis since mid-2023. Airlines operating MAX jets and A320neos powered by LEAPs have had more successes keeping aircraft in service than airlines operating the A320neos powered by the GTFs. While Airbus offers its A320neo family with both engine types, while Boeing's 737 MAX comes only with the LEAP 1Bs. But the CFM power plants have not escaped their growing pains.
So we talk about on the show, don't we, about the backlog of aircraft that both Boeing and Airbus have got, you know, with all the massive amounts of orders and stuff they've got. But it's not just that, is it? Now we've got issues with engines and stuff, problems like that now, which again add more delays onto deliveries of aircraft. So it's not just the manufacturers of the aircraft now, Boeing and Airbus. It's the engine manufacturers now that.
Yeah, I mean, John Jester makes a reasonable point. He says tight tolerances and fancy metal and composites don't have the durability of the old stuff. And also, actually, if you think about it, of course, these engines are, we could do with Peter Collings on here with his boroscope, couldn't we, really, for a bit of a chat? But as we haven't got him here, I'll give you my amateur view of it. Obviously, they're tested in hot and high conditions, in very cold conditions, very hot conditions. But these sandy type environments can be very damaging to this kind of engine. And, if you just imagine the amount of thrust these things have got, especially the newer engines, it's just incredible. So they're sucking in an awful lot of air. And that's why they're having this, extended maintenance period and they're having to do more repairs to them. Obviously they've made a big leap forward, if you'll pardon the pun, in terms of fuel efficiency and all the rest of it. But if the thing's going to be off the wing half the time in maintenance, then any saving that you might have made for the airlines in fuel is going to be costed in maintenance. So they've got to find a way around this. But it'd be interesting to hear what Peter's viewpoint might be on this. Perhaps we could get him on and
I've just pinged him a message, Nev.
Yes.
Just done it.
Interesting as well, from what John was saying there, saying like that, the newer engines just aren't as durable. Do you think some of that is because they weren't expecting the implications to be as wide ranging as they have been? Perhaps it's like it's all very well with these new composites, and I dare say they've been chosen because they're much lighter and things like that. But I mean, do you think that's potentially the reason? Why? Because it's that it's only now really that they're being fully tested when they're in the environment to which they're going to be operating, that it's highlighted things that perhaps weren't spotted in testing, for example. It's
possible, but of course the amount of usage that these aircraft are now getting, because obviously the thing has to be flying as much as possible, maybe because of the amount of work that they're doing in these sandy and dusty environments, maybe it's more than was originally thought, and that's why they've had to increase the maintenance of them, because that's how they operate them. So, but I mean, they would have tested them in these conditions, but for how long, I don't know. So, but it's I think it's not a safety issue per se, because the maintenance will go ahead. But it's the cost associated with it must be enormous.
Of having to park them for so long as well as a result, isn't it? That's the issue, I think.
Good comment from Dirk S in the chat room, Nev. You'll appreciate this. Just says, put some JT8Ds on, problem solved.
Darren Smith says, can we say that the RB211 nearly killed the TriStar at the beginning? Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
It did. Rolls-Royce did. Yeah. That's why I've got a piece of one up here in front of me. But yes, it very much did. But I do like Dirk's comment, though. That would be, I mean, how often did you used to end up seeing the venerable 737-200 with the JT8Ds broken down or not?
Oh,
running?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, smoking, yes.
Yes.
Definitely smoking, but not broken down. Nev, you've got the next story. And when I found this story this week, it was all, the pictures are incredible, and this is not something that I expected to see, especially on a 737.
No, quite. It's on twz.com, and it says that Boeing 737 countermeasure flare release captured in stunning photos. Well, impressive imagery showing military aircraft punching out flares is by now fairly familiar, but no less worth looking at. Much rarer, however, is to see a civilian airline design doing the same thing. In this case, the Boeing 737 is in Polish Air Force service, but the captures are certainly highly unusual and bring attention to a lesser-known aspect of this aircraft, and other governmental and privately owned jets are similarly outfitted with self-protection systems. Well, photos in this story were shared with TWZ by Bartek Bearer, whose work has been profiled before. Wow. And Bartek photographed the 737 on August the 28th when it was on its way to the rehearsal for the Radom Air Show in east central Poland. The aircraft is a 737-800 Boeing Business Jet 2 with the tactical number 0112 and the name Ignacy Jan Paderewski, which was delivered to the Polish Air Force in 2021. After joining a formation with the photo ship, the 737 began pumping out infrared decoys, part of its relatively extensive self-protection suite. It's worth noting that flares are by no means an uncommon feature of the Polish military air displays. In the past, we've looked at the use of photo flash flares by the now retired Polish Air Force Su-22, fitter swing wing ground attack aircraft and C-130 transports have also previously lit up radom with pyrotechnic displays. Whilst the Polish Air Force were asked for more details about the decoys, they were not willing to provide any information. However, based on open sources, the Polish Air Force 737s were outfitted with countermeasures dispensers prior to delivery. As they've explored in the past, infrared countermeasures encompass a range of different flares with varying degrees of capability and complexity that cover different spectral regimes. At their most simple, these kinds of flares provide a heat source which can be enough to defeat the infrared seeker head of a simpler missile. To defeat a more advanced threat, a countermeasure needs to be more closely paired to the host aircraft signature. Well, the self-protection equipment of at least one of the Polish Air Force 737s also includes a directed infrared countermeasure system in a canoe-shaped DIRCOM fairing below the rear fuselage, while other examples of the aircraft display the mounting area for the same canoe. Reportedly, the DIRCOM is the Israeli-made Elbit Systems J Music. This provides an additional degree of protection using a turreted laser to blind and confuse the seeker on infrared homing missiles. Well, self-protection is enabled by the 737's Missile Approach Warning System, MAWS, sensors, for which can be seen located around the fuselage in the photos that we've just been showing you. The system senses the signature of the incoming missile and can facilitate automatic, semi-automatic or a manual response course of action on how to defend against it, be it by flares or the DIRCOM laser system if equipped. Overall, Polish Air Force 737s are notably well equipped. These aircraft are also provided with a secure data link, SATCOM and a UHF, VHF and HF radios for communications. Military standard avionics include a TACAM navigation system, modified friend or foe and GPS receivers with selective availability anti-spoofing modules. The flight deck is fitted with head-up displays and an enhanced flight vision system which provides the pilots with an improved view outside the cockpit. 737s are also equipped with specialised medical equipment for medical evacuation missions.
Wow.
Gosh, that's quite a setup, isn't it?
Like I said in the chat room, said the pictures are stunning. Honestly, seeing that it's kind of weird. I know it's a commercial news segment, but it's a kind of a mixed half and half, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the comments in the chat room, I know that Darren Smith was saying that El Al have been carrying those for years. I think I remember seeing a story on that on YouTube with the El Al aircraft that have these countermeasures on obviously for a particular reason. Yeah, it's. I think if you're flying in places where it can be quite dangerous,
Hostile,
it's probably a good idea to have an aircraft fitted with such things. Obviously, you can't fly a 737 like a fighter jet, so your turning speed or turning ratios and your ability to invert and all that kind of thing are probably not compatible with commercial airliner.
No, quite.
although was it Tex Johnson barrel rolled the 707?
Yes.
Back in the 80s, was it 70s or 80s? Tex Johnson, I'm sure it was him who barrel rolled a 707 to demonstrate it to the crowds how good it was. But,
and when he was asked about this, probably by someone in the company, what did he think he was doing? I think his response was, "I'm selling aeroplanes."
I mean that is a thing, by the way. We were talking about Andy earlier on in the program. By the way, he sends his apologies, but the good news is he is tuned in. Look, there we are. He's watching us on the train. Look, lovely picture of you, Nev, in full flow.
Oh, I love
he's on the booze
board
as well. Hop on board. Yes, he's got 2 cans there.
Oh, that's clever. That's clever. We like.
And it
that.
looks like he's just had a gin and tonic as a starter. Goodness me!
Oh, how the other half
boy.
live.
What's the ZYN on the left hand side? Or don't I want to know?
That's the fish eggs.
Oh.
Ooh.
Say
Probably.
how exotic.
You wouldn't expect, Mr. Wilson to travel in cattle class, would you?
That's a good point. Yeah, I assume that is first class, of course.
Obviously,
on the LNER. I'm amazed it's running. They're not renowned for their punctuality, are they?
Well, he's not saying he's on time. It's just that he's on the train.
He is on the train. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, he's definitely on the beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Best way to be, I think.
Yeah.
Makes a long journey far less long.
Exactly. Right. Moving swiftly on to bbc.co.uk. And good news for anyone who likes to fly from Gatwick. No one shouts there. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander this week has approved plans for a second runway at London Gatwick Airport as the government looks for economic growth opportunities. The £2.2 billion privately financed project involves, in effect, moving the current northern runway 12 metres to bring it into regular use, as well as other developments, including extending the size of the terminals. Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the plans would create thousands of jobs and billions in investment, but the project has faced opposition from the Green Party, describing it as a disaster. Well, of course they will, until they want to go on holiday. Gatwick currently handles around 280,000 flights a year. It says the plan would allow that number to rise to around 389,000 flights by late 2030. Reeves said the second Gatwick runway was part of the government's plan to get Britain building again. Speaking at the airport, the Chancellor said the extra runway at Gatwick will mean that the people going on holiday will have a greater choice of destinations. It'll mean lower costs for a family holiday. Well, that's what they think. Airlines will charge what they want. It will also mean more good jobs, more decent paying wages through this injection of cash into the economy. The government source also described the plans as a no-brainer for growth, adding that it's possible that the planes could be taking off from a new full runway at Gatwick before the next general election, which would be by 2029. But Green leader Zach Polanski said the project ignores basic climate science and risks undermining efforts to tackle climate crisis. Labour keeps wheeling out the same nonsense about growth, but at what cost, he said. The chair of the Transport Committee, Ruth Cadbury, said the government said it was committed to reducing carbon emissions, but they're waiting for them to show how they will square the circle by doing so, whilst enabling thousands more flights to go. Can the UK expand airports and still hit climate targets? Well, that's one of the questions that they asked. London Gatwick in West Sussex is Europe's biggest single runway airport, with more than 40 million passengers a year using it. The plans approved by Alexander would include adding 40,000 more flights before the second runway opens, and 70,000 more, almost 190 a day that makes once it's fully up and running. The airport says that passenger numbers could rise to up to 80 million. And at the moment, the northern runway is only used for taxiing or as a backup. The second runway would be used for short-haul flights, with capacity also freed for long-haul services from the main runway. Now, Nev, I know you've flown from Heathrow a couple of times, but do you think this is definitely something that Gatwick needs?
Oh, it's been years getting this sorted out. Can you imagine the design of the airport layout to begin with? The designers went, I know, let's make a runway which is 26 left and 08 right, and then put another one next to it which is 26 right and 08 left, and let's make it so that we can't use them at the same time. hello? I've never understood it. And because they are too close together for simultaneous approaches or for them both to be used at the same time, and I think I'm right in saying, and I'm sure Andy will correct me, I don't think there's an ILS approach available on 26 right. It might be a GNSS possibly. So they're going to have to put a new ILS and all the rest of it in there anyway. Yeah, great. It's about time. And I've never understood, I mean, to be honest with you, how the controllers and the guys and girls in the tower and on the approach frequencies deal with the departing aircraft and landing aircraft, because the frequency is so, so much. They do a fantastic job of making it all work. Very occasionally you get to go around, but hardly ever because of spacing. And they do an unbelievable job, considering it's the second largest airport in the UK and it's effectively a single runway operation. So, but yeah, they just need to move them a bit further apart, have some precision landing facility for 26 right, and off we go. My concern, as always, is the environmentalists will get their way and it will be delayed again. So bearing in mind the aircraft that we've got flying at the moment, they have never been more quieter and more fuel efficient. But we'll have to see. When we're not using 727s anymore, or 737-200s, or noisy old DC-9s. This is a different era we're in now. So, but I hope they get it built because they'll need some extra terminal capacity to go with it as well. But as I say, what impresses me most is how the controlling teams are able to operate on a single runway with the amount of traffic that is used is fantastic. It's a great compliment to them, I think, the fact they can do it. But it will make their life easier, I hope, by having a proper second runway fully operational that they can use at the same time.
Richard Adams makes a very good comment, Nev, in the chat room. And in other news, the M25 needs another 5 lanes to cope with the increased Gatwick traffic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ain't that the
Oh
truth?
dear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've obviously got to have the transport infrastructure as well in place, which I think Gatwick does have the train. Is it a train? They do have a train service station at Gatwick, don't they?
Oh yes, very much so. Yeah, the Gatwick Express, that works
That's
really
it.
well. Andy has just confirmed my thought that that's an RNP approach only on 26 right. There's no ILS in either direction, I don't think. So yeah, if they're going to do a new runway, do new precision approach aids and all the rest of it, so they can get the best out of it. But yeah, they need to get on with it now. So it's a real project that has real benefits, unlike things like HS2, for example. But this will be a massive improvement to the current situation down there.
Right, moving on to the next story. Are you all right with this one, Matt?
Yes, all being well. Yes, indeed.
This story came out this week, and it was quite a shocker, I think, for many people, including pilots.
Indeed. It's Paddle Your Own Canoe is the source for this one, and the headline says, plane came within 10 feet of landing on top of a packed EasyJet aircraft at Nice Airport in terrifying close call. In fact, actually, there were some comments in our own group chat, wasn't there, with when the picture appeared in there, and it was just like, oh my goodness me, that was close, wasn't it? A plane operated by Tunisian airline Nouvel Air came within 10 feet of landing on top of a packed EasyJet aircraft at Nice Airport in the south of France late on Sunday night in a terrifying close call that left the pilots of the EasyJet plane so shocked that the flight had to be cancelled. The incident occurred after the Nouvel Air flight from Tunis in Tunisia lined up to land on the wrong wrong runway, which was already occupied by the EasyJet plane preparing for takeoff. Passengers on board the EasyJet plane said that there was a deafening roar inside the cabin as the pilots of the Nouvelle Air aircraft realised their mistake and pushed as much power into the engines to avoid disaster. Once the Nouvelle Air plane performed a go-around, the pilots of the EasyJet plane were left so shocked, with one reportedly left shaking and crying, the plane had to taxi back to the gate and the flight was cancelled. Based on what we know so far, this is what happened. EasyJet flight U24706 from Nice to, is it Nantes? Nantes?
Nantes.
Sorry, my apologies. Was due to depart at 8:55 p.m. on the 21st of September, but was delayed by nearly 2 hours due to bad weather across the Azure. Just before 11 p.m. on Sunday night, the pilots of EasyJet Flight 4706 were eventually given clearance to line up on runway 04 right for departure. Around the same time, the Nouvelle Air Flight Bravo Juliet 586 was given clearance to land on runway 04 left. Rather than correctly lining up to land on runway 04 left, the pilots of Nouvelle Air Flight 586 lined up to land on runway 04 right. The Nouvelle Air Airbus A320 crossed the runway threshold at an altitude of just 50 feet and seconds later started a go-around after the pilots saw the EasyJet A320 lined up on the same runway. French media reports suggest that the Nouvelle Air plane came within just 10 feet of the EasyJet aircraft. The Nouvelle Air aircraft ended up landing without incident on the correct runway about 15 minutes later. Meanwhile, the pilots of the EasyJet plane taxied back to the gate where the flight was cancelled. French aviation accident investigators from the French Civil Aviation Safety Investigation Authority have classified the occurrence as a serious incident and have deployed 4 investigators to Nice Airport. What caused the pilots of the Nouvelle Air flight to line up to land on the wrong runway is yet to be determined, although there are already some theories behind what could have caused the incident. I'm not going to go into the speculation, so I'm going to end the story there. But yeah, it's certainly a very worrying incident. I mean, there should have been lots of alarm bells ringing all over this place here. I mean, presumably somebody else other than the pilots involved will have been watching that aircraft. Why weren't there any alerts going on when it became clear that they were sort of heading in the wrong direction?
Yes, there's lots of questions here, isn't there? I think that firstly, if the Nouvelle Air A320 is at 50 feet, it's directly over the piano keys, basically, on the runway. And the other thing is full marks to the EasyJet crew, because they were so shaken by this. They're going, well, we're not in a position to operate this flight anymore.
Absolutely.
Safely. We're going to taxi back to the gate, excuse me, and also preserve all the data. So things like the cockpit voice recorders. Now, I'm sure the towers got that as well, but they wanted to make sure, I would imagine, that they got all the data preserved for the subsequent investigation. But that was a very close call. And just looking at some of the directions as well, with the weather as it was at the time, because of the approach to those runways, to those parallel runways, it would be easy to mix the two up in slightly adverse weather conditions, I would have thought. Nonetheless, and the other thing is, of course, one of the things that they were talking about on Mentor Pilot today was that you cannot, it's very, very difficult to see another aircraft on the runway, especially at 11:30 at night. I mean, yes, they've got the anti-collision lights on and, the tail light and all the rest of it, but, you're banked up in a landing configuration, and you cannot see this at all.
Your nose is up, isn't it, essentially, as you're coming in, so your visibility is absolutely going to be impaired, sort of coming into doing this. And that must have been one hell of a noise. Yeah. And Andy points out in the chat room that the TCAS doesn't actually give a resolution advisory, an RA below
900 feet. It'll give a TA, but not an RA. So, it's all very well saying that these things should have been in place, but there are limits to how the system will work.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a very large inquiry about this, and I think this is one of the closest things that we've heard about in recent years, certainly. So
In a very long time,
I hope they get to the bottom of it. Yeah.
I did read a report online when I researched this story that there was one of the news feeds said that apparently the flight deck crew on the EasyJet aircraft heard over the noise of the flight deck and their own noise heard, the jet, fly above them. The engine noise from the Nouveau.
Well, especially if they're then throwing on full power to sort of climb. I mean, that is absolutely what they would.
Not a great feeling if you're on the flight deck.
No, I bet. Well, and it's no wonder that they opted to cancel the flight at all. Really.
Yeah.
No surprise at all.
Right. Now, Nev, you've got the final story, and I have to say, this is.
I'm sad.
The pictures are incredible, and I would give anything to have a piece of that aircraft sitting here on the wall next to me.
I know. Well, here we go. It's on aerospaceglobalnews.com, and it says that Icelandair has retired one of its most iconic 757s as Tango Foxtrot India has taken its last flight. While the loss of any 757 is a cause for a moment of reflection, this aircraft's final flight is made all the more significant because of its unusual special livery. Well, introduced in 2017 to celebrate the airline's 80th year, Tango Foxtrot India Romeo had sported the special livery for the past 8 years, bringing a taste of Iceland to passengers from all over the world. And inspired by the glacier of the same name, Vatnajökull, I think it's pronounced, features a hand-painted image and a glacier-themed interior. Well, the aircraft's final revenue service was from London Heathrow to Reykjavik on the 21st of September. It left the British hub just before 10:30 at night, arriving in Iceland at midnight. According to data from Flight Radar 24, in recent weeks, it had been used on services to Manchester, Glasgow, Oslo, Denver and New York. On the 22nd of September in the morning, the 757 took off from its home at Keflavik Airport and began the long transatlantic haul to Kansas City. That previous retired 757s also went to Kansas for part out. To create this masterpiece, Icelandair used 4 airbrush artists, 21 assistants and 590 square metres of canvas and 195 litres of paint. The airline used the same artists who created Hekla Aurora, another 757 with a livery inspired by the Northern Lights. It took the team 24 days to complete the meticulous airbrushed exterior design, but the glacial inspiration doesn't stop at the exterior. Inside, touches of glacier magic are delivered by ambient moving LED blue lighting in the main cabin. The headrests are adorned with an ice white and brilliant turquoise design. Even the drinks trolley is transformed into a mini ice cave, whilst cups, napkins and even sick bags are decorated with glacier prints. Well, the Boeing 757 is now nearly 32 years old, having been delivered new to Iberia in 1994. It joined the Icelandair fleet in 2002 and received its special livery in 2017. Over the course of its history, Icelandair has operated 44 757s, 42 of which have been the 200 series, whilst there were 3 of the 300 variant. Today, it has just 10 200s and 2 300s. The airline began phasing out its 757 during the pandemic, with around a third of the aircraft retired in 2020 and 2021. Replacing the aircraft are the Boeing 737 MAX, of which Icelandair now has 21, and the A320neo, of which it has 4 so far. Well, the remaining 757s are not young aircraft. The Dash 200s average 26.5 years, whilst the two 300 series are 23 and 25 years old. This aircraft was by far the oldest Dash 200 left in the fleet, and the next oldest is Tango Foxtrot India Uniform at 31.5 years, another iconic aircraft with the stunning Heckler Aurora livery. Whilst the 757 days are numbered at Iceland Air, the retirement of Foxtrot India Romeo is the first of 2025. The last 757 retirement was Kylie, I think it's pronounced, in September 2024. Iceland Air is phasing out the 757s as replacements arrived. It's due more A321 Neos and ultimately the A321 XLR, which will see more Boeing 757s leave. It's possible that Heckler Aurora could be the next for the boneyard, but hopefully not too soon. Wow.
Incredible looking aircraft.
Amazing, isn't it?
The paint job is
Yeah.
it's just phenomenal.
It is, isn't it?
Absolutely phenomenal. I have to say, even I know Darren in the chat room said that the interior is looking a bit tired on those, but on the pictures there, you know, those LED effects and that just look incredible on the interiors. It's so good. But it'll be interesting to see, Nev, what happens with these. Whether they will, whether they'll be turned into freighters, which a lot of 7.5s end up being turned into, or whether another airline will snap them up.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? It's such a versatile aircraft in terms of the distances that it could cover, whether it was just short-haul operations or medium to long-haul stuff. And a lot of airlines, like Britannia back in the day as well, made a big use of the 757 with its ETOPS capability as well in order to go across the pond. So, yeah, amazing.
Incredible. Right, that is the last story for commercial news this week, and it is time for that. Time for the particular part of the show, which is a firm favourite with many, including Dirk S in the chat room. So, Nev, what have we got coming up now?
Well, despite what I was saying earlier on in the show today, this week it's another great BA ad from 1975 and a level of service I don't think we would see somehow these days. Well, you be the judge.
I mean, what on earth?
I mean, that's a level of service that I would.
I think that ship has sailed. I don't think we're ever going there again, are we?
I would argue perhaps the service was never really like that. But anyway, there we go.
Did you ever used to wake up, Nev, with your business shoes all nicely polished? And
no, and certainly not in 1975 because I was still at school, and you weren't even born at that point, were you?
No.
No, that never happened. But it's brilliant, isn't it, to look back on this stuff? Really good.
Richard Adams says in the chat room, ironed newspapers in those days as well.
There you go.
Gosh.
Do you remember actually, I can still remember the days where you did actually used to get a newspaper when you used to board an aircraft.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and not that long ago either, actually. Yeah. I seem to remember that certainly in all the shuttle flights and maybe the short-haul European ops as well, as you walk down the jet bridge, there'd be a little newspaper thing on the right-hand side where you could select your Daily Mail from. But yeah, and they used to hand them out on the aircraft too, but before that. But as part of the cost-cutting measures, they put them into a newspaper rack which you would pick from on your way into the aircraft. Maybe to do the Times crossword in the days before iPads and things like that.
All digital now.
I do remember the one and only business class flight that I've ever done, and it was Malaysian Airways, and it was from New Zealand back to Kuala Lumpur at this place. It was just that leg. And I do remember being greeted with an English newspaper that was the Telegraph. And it was that day's Telegraph as well, which completely melted my brain. Because it was just like, well, yeah, you know, because it was before like digital printing and all that kind of thing. So it's just like, anyway, amused me.
Oh,
yeah.
Dear.
Well, more ads next week. I shall scour my usual places to find another ad next week.
Must be running out, surely.
It does worry me sometimes. I think, when I do run out of ads, what we're going to do next? We're going to have to think of something else. But we've got another part of the show to bring you now, a very interesting part as well. And it's our wrap-up, isn't it, Nev?
Yeah, so it's a final interview from the Bray Air Display 2025. Well, Carlos here speaks with Shay Pardey, who is the display director and a captain on the Airbus A320 for Aer Lingus. Shay's a very modest fellow, and of course he talks about himself in that way, but actually the team that's helped him in bringing yet another extraordinary successful display to Bray is absolutely incredible, and the amount of effort required is really extraordinary. Anyway, here's Carl's interview with Shay as the display has just finished and everyone was packing up to go home.
So we're wrapping up our visit to Dublin, to Bray, for the air show. I'm here with Shay. Long time no see, Shay. We met you last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Last year. Delighted you came back.
Yeah, we wouldn't miss it for the world, Shay. It's been an absolutely phenomenal day. You've done awesome.
Well, I think, it's not me really. We have about 300 people helping here. Amazing support. None of us are paid. We have a lot of my Aer Lingus colleagues, our traffic control, etc. You see that, so we're delighted with it. We're exhausted now. We do another one tomorrow, but as a free public event. And in the UK, I heard during the week you have 300 odd air shows per annum. We have 3 here in Ireland. And if you look at the history of aviation we should have a lot more, but we have 3 good ones.
And it has been you've had the weather,
Yeah.
You've had great display aircraft, and I think turnout-wise, looking out earlier on this afternoon, I mean, the figures must be off the roof.
They are considerably more than last year, in the tens of thousands. So, yeah, and it's great. I think we do a lot of good for the country. And really, we just want to see young kids consider engineering, flying, or traffic control, or whatever is a good career. And if you're into aviation, it's a cool thing to be in.
Highlight for you, Shay, the whole show?
Cavalcade. And I suppose the Silver Swallows, really. I haven't seen those in a few years. The Defence Forces with the Air Corps and the naval ship, etc., which you probably in the UK just sort of not take for granted, but we get significant support. Also have to thank the guys in Weston who facilitated Richard Goodwin, the Ravens. The Mustang went to Baldonnel, so there's a lot of goodwill. And there's a team here who work for months, so we start next year tomorrow. Because if we have to get, very simply, we get Richard Goodwin, told them already. We get the wing workers, told them already. I asked Isabel with the Mustang, told her already. They were only having their breakfast this morning. And you build around that. So it's like, back in the day, if you're getting married, you get the dance hall and the band. And everything else sort of works around it.
That was one of my question, was how the preparation that went behind today. Obviously, you've been planning today for a year. So
we have, and it's poker then, it's not on the weather. You could do all the work we've done and you could be rained out. So, somebody's upstairs hopefully looking after us. But we get good help and we're delighted. It's a special place. And if you look at, even to have Aer Lingus, I suppose, it's a highlight to see the great fly past they do, the guys in Emerald, etc. So you start to pick and you say, I've left somebody out. The Irish Parachute Club and the Black Knights onto the beach. It's an intimate setting with a massive crowd, so I think it's been great.
No, you've done a fantastic job. We've enjoyed ourselves here today. We've got some great content. And obviously coming down here, lovely seafront as well. Weather's been good, great turnout, great acts, as I said.
And I should, not to close off, but I have to compliment Bristol with the 189 and Morton with the King Air. And a lot of background, as Alan will allude to, goes into that with training and planning and risk assessments and what we're doing and what we're not. It's not just pitch up. And that's 2 new participants, as the Mustang was. We just sort of were flawless, you know. And that's, I think, professionalism and care, and people want it to look good, but be safe. You know, that's all we want. Because if you have any major incident and it all goes, you know, there's an onus on all. It doesn't mean you can't have an accident, but you could have, you know. That's really good.
I'm guessing for next year, bigger and better.
I said to somebody today, in your lifetime, you will get 100 days like this. So is bigger better? We did bigger in the past. You know, we're not far off where we need to be. And it's Irish hospitality. And if you look at your visit to us and the restaurant or whatever, the people you met, everybody's nice. You know, we like chatting and talking, as you know. Alan is a good testament that he never shuts up. But I think, you know, we have a good country. We have a lot of faults, but we have a good country.
Well, Shay, I want to thank, on behalf of us as a podcast, PTUK, I want to thank you for your hospitality over the course of the weekend. It's been, like I said, a phenomenal show.
Good.
We've thoroughly enjoyed ourselves.
So come back next year.
Thank you to you and your team for all you've done.
We're delighted.
That'd be fun. That's one I wished I'd have managed to get to. Actually, that looked like a lot of fun.
It was
It
very
certainly
warm.
was. Yeah, and I think, well, many thanks to Alan White for teeing all of this up for us. We couldn't have done it without you, Alan. And I think Shay's such a modest fellow, as you've seen. We met him before over at Simtech near the airport in Dublin, where he owns was part of the training facilities there as well. The nice thing about Ireland is that you can get stuff done very quickly, and everybody knows everybody else, especially in the world of aviation. And we found this at the drone summit when we went there a couple of years ago. But it's even more the case here, where everybody knows everybody else, and a quick phone call or a text and stuff gets done. That never happens in the UK because there's too many people and there's too much bureaucracy and there's too much red tape for whatever reason. The safety is still very much the main thing at this air show. No two ways about it, and no one can criticise that at all. But it's just the way you can get things done in Ireland. I found that in my working life as well, going back to 1985 when I first went to Dublin, and I've been back so many times to different parts of the country, and in the north as well, up in Belfast, but especially in the Republic of Ireland, where it's a great feeling, and people, as Shay said, people are nice. And they help you get things done. And if they can't help you, they probably know someone who does.
Definitely, it's the good old fashioned bartering system, isn't it? You know,
Yep.
Money very rarely changes hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there we go. So that was our final interview from Bray. Thank you, Alan, again for all of your help in teeing that up for us. It was so worthwhile, and we'll definitely come back for some more. We really enjoyed it.
Very much indeed. And I second that. Thank you very much, Alan, for all your help. It was a great, great time we had there. And Guinness as well, Nev. Great Guinness as well.
Yes, there was a bit of that, wasn't there? Yeah.
Right, it's time for the grey stuff. Nev, would you like to introduce the next section?
Yes, and surprisingly, we've got a couple of really interesting grey stories this week as well. So let's play it.
What's up, bogeys 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 bogeys.
Well, the first story this week is from the ukdefencejournal.org.uk, and something I would so love to be a part of this and see this happen, or have at least a seat to watch this happening. British Poseidon in first mid-air refuelling in the UK skies. So the Royal Air Force's Poseidon P8 has been refueled in UK airspace for the first time during exercise Cobra Warrior 25-2. The sortie was carried out by 42 Torpedo Bomber Squadron during exercise Cobra Warrior, with a US Air Force KC-135 Strato tanker from RAF Mildenhall extending a refueling hose to the Poseidon mid-flight. The procedure allowed the aircraft to remain airborne longer without returning to base, significantly expanding its operational range. Squadron leader Kane, who previously served on exchange with the US Navy and gained extensive experience testing Poseidon refueling with both KC-135 and KC-46 tankers, captained the historic flight. A spokesperson for Royal Air Force Lossiemouth said this is a major milestone for the UK Poseidon. The P-8 is already a versatile aircraft, but being able to extend the time these missions can stay in the air will be of huge benefit for both RAF and our allies. He added, the exercise has also shown the importance of being able to operate with our and alongside our allies on behalf of the P-8 crew. He said he would like to thank our US Air Force colleagues for aiding us in making the first AAR a success. Poseidons, operated by 42, 120 and 201 squadrons from RAF Lossiemouth, are at the heart of UK's anti-submarine warfare and maritime surveillance missions. However, the type lacked a British refuelling option. The UK does not operate any boom-equipped tankers, meaning aircraft like the Poseidon and some other types must rely on US support to extend endurance. The milestone comes just weeks after a 42 squadron was formally re-established at Lossiemouth in a ceremony attended by King Charles III. It also coincides with the 2025 iteration of Exercise Cobra Warrior, bringing together NATO partners for a large-scale collective training. I don't know whether you had the picture there, Matt, for that air-to-air refuelling there between those two aircraft, but it is stunning to be able to sit in that seat and watch the refueling taking place. Just to sit with that view there is incredible. It's so good. It's so good. I'd like to have the chance. I mean, Nev, even you'd like to have a little seat there just to watch that all occurring.
Oh, yes. No, don't worry about that. Yeah, I would be first in the queue for that. Definitely. Yeah.
Very good. Fascinating.
Yeah, amazing.
Nev, next one up for you. Seems like we're going to get a new fighter jet.
Yeah, it looks like it's on twz.com, and it says that Boeing has started production of the first F-47 sixth-generation stealth fighter for the US Air Force. The goal now is for that jet to make its first flight sometime in 2028. Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin provided a brief update on the F-47 during his keynote address at the Air and Space Forces Association 2025 Air, Space and Cyber Conference, at which this particular publication, TWZ, was in attendance. Well, in March, President Donald Trump personally announced that Boeing had been selected as the winner of the competition for the crewed fighter component of the Air Force's broader Next Generation Air Dominance Initiative. The NGAD effort also includes the development of new collaborative combat aircraft drones, as well as advanced jet engines, weapons, electronic warfare suites, sensors, networking ecosystems, battle management capabilities, and more. Well, after years of work, hundreds of test hours, thousands of man years in the lab, the president announced that the F-47, Alvin said, it's the platform that, along with all of the rest of the NGAD systems, is going to ensure dominance into the future. The Air Force had only previously said that the F-47 was expected to make its maiden flight before the end of Trump's current term, which will conclude on January the 20th, 2029. Multiple secretive flying demonstrators helped pave the way for the F-47 as well. Well, details about the program and design of the aircraft itself remain highly classified. At the time of speaking, there continue to be only two official renderings of the jet, which Air Force officials have said do not necessarily fully reflect what the plane will look like in real life for operational security purposes. The inclusion of prominent canard foreplanes in the two renderings has been a particular topic of discussion since March, Canards could give the design a boost in manoeuvrability, but are conducive to extreme degrees of low stealth to radar. And the publication has previously explored the matters of the canards and what else can be seen in the renderings in detail, whilst also noting that certain aspects could be deliberate misdirection. The Air Force has said that the F-47 is expected to have a combat radius in the region of 1,000 nautical miles and be able to reach speeds above Mach 2. With that range, the new 6th generation jets will offer roughly a 25% boost in operational reach, at least over existing US fighters. How fast the aircraft will be able to cruise without its afterburners engaged and with what level of efficiency remains unknown at this stage. Well, they better get on with it, haven't they? They've got to get it airborne by 2028. So yeah,
It does look very cool though.
Yeah.
For a military grade thing, I think even Captain Al might find that impressive.
Well, he's getting into the military.
Yeah, let's not go mad.
Oh dear.
Honestly. Right, let's move on to the next instalment of a very awesome interview as well. Nev, what's this?
Yes, it's Alan Munro. Well, in his book, Fast Jets on the Front Line, published by Grub Street, Alan reflects on his time in the RAF and the Cold War jets which he flew. Having started his career after basic training on the Gloucester Javelin with 228 OCU, Alan went on to become a flying instructor at No. 1 Flying Training School at Linton-on-Ouse. But with the UK's withdrawal from the east of Suez, he found himself with a ground posting and questioning whether he would see frontline flying again. Luckily for Alan, this wasn't the case, and he was soon posted to Lightnings and Harriers before returning to 228 OCU to fly on Phantoms. Well, in part 2 of Alan's interview with Captain Nick asked Alan about whether he was able to see any action in Borneo along with the Russian MiG-21s.
You were out there during the Indonesian, I don't know what it was called.
Well, it finished, unfortunately, and everything got a lot less operational. I never got to Borneo.
I was just wondering if anyone managed to mix it up with the MiG-21s.
No, we
the
didn't.
Indonesians.
But we watched the intelligence brief, and they seemed to write one off every week.
Oh, good Lord.
On their own, they didn't need any help.
Excellent. Now, the Far East Air Force seemed to be absolutely huge. You listed all the squadrons that there were in those days.
There were a good 70 aircraft on the ground in the first thing in the morning at Tanger.
Wow, just at Tanger?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then all the heavies were at Changi, Shackletons, Arguses, Hastings. And all the medium transports, including the helicopters, were at Seletar. And then the Navy still had Sembawang, and they disembarked the Gannets. And they had the QFI's Hunter based at Sembawang as well. The last time I was in Singapore, it was pathetic because we took the metro around the island, and it passed Sembawang, and it was half covered in new flats.
Yeah.
Sad.
Very sad, yeah. So what was it like when Wilson's government swung the axe and
Well, by that time I was back at instructing at Linton, and the significance didn't really hit. And until about a year later, when they said, I just came back from Christmas leave and said, go and see the chief flying instructor with 3 choices of ground job. I said, what are you talking about? And so I put in staff Cyprus, staff Norway, as you do. And I got an apprentice training school. But you see, what they did was they grounded instructors between 21, I can't quite remember what the bracket was, but there was a sort of middle experience. So you left a few of the more experienced instructors and you didn't touch the new ones coming online. And 40 QFIs were grounded overnight.
Oh, wow.
And I was in that bracket. And that absolutely finished me as an Air Force career.
So that was really as a result of the defence cuts, which included the Far East, that you just didn't need that many instructors to train the pilots anymore. Let me just take you back to the jungle, because you mentioned in your book you did a jungle survival course.
Brilliant.
And you talk about a treescape. Now, I flew many hours over the Malaysian jungle, and it never occurred to me that I might get hung up in a tree, unable to get down.
Yeah.
So what was this treescape device?
It looked like a canvas parcel about so big. And you had big buttons, big romper buttons stitched onto your flying suit with a big canvas patch. And this thing buttoned on, so the last thing you did before you put on your life jacket was button up your T-scape. And then you put the life jacket on over that. Now, you unzipped it, and there was an easy fastening, to wind a rope around a branch, should you land up in the tree canopy. And then there was a clutch and a sort of aluminium device with a handle. And you let yourself down a bit at a time, and it was 200 feet long.
Good Lord.
And we used to practice this thing. The ground crew would bring round some aircraft steps, for transport aircraft steps, which were the highest thing they could find. And you attach yourself to this and let yourself down. And it worked very, very well. But the possibility of being stuck up a tree was very real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Aussies made us fly with loaded pistols when we were in the Northern Territories.
Yes.
In case you ejected, because there are so many crocodiles there, which I always thought was a bit amusing.
I thought you had a big knife down your back.
Yeah, just like Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to believe how old-fashioned the Air Force was in those days, even deterring its officers from marrying below the age of 25. And you even needed to buy your wife a ticket to get on an RAF trooper.
Yeah,
what was that
true.
about?
She was reduced to tears first, in that she went to the wrong bit of it. We got a bit pissed off. We hadn't been married all that long. And she decided, right, I'm going to do something about this. So she presented herself at the mod and was next thing in front of a naval commander, an army colonel, who said, yes, dear, now, which regiment is your husband? Of course we can get you out there, no problem. And which regiment is your husband? Well, he's not, he's in the RAF. Oh, I'm so sorry, you've come to the wrong place. So the army escorted her to the Air Force guy, who had her in tears with about 20 minutes.
Oh,
how dare she come to the MOD in blah, 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 blah. And she was reduced to shreds. So I got together my last remaining money and bought her what we called an indulgence flight, which was you had to pay for space available. I think it was something like £180, which to me was a small fortune.
Mm.
And of course, we then lived in a guest house in Singapore, and then we got a house that wasn't a particularly nice one, but it was all we could afford. And then all of a sudden, I was 25, and the world opened up, and I got money poured into my bank account. So what was the first thing we did? We bought a hi-fi.
Well done.
And I bet if he still had that hi-fi, it'd be worth a small fortune now.
Oh, isn't it amazing the clarity with which he can recall all of these things? But also, there were some pretty tough times there by the sounds of things, and also not helped by the UK government, chopping the defence budget, which has happened so many times over many decades.
Yeah.
It has a real effect. 40 instructors just losing their jobs overnight, effectively, because they weren't needed. But Alan's got a lot more to tell us about as well. So we're having part 3 of his interview next week. And I just want to pay tribute to Natalie, who's one of the editors at Grub Street Publishing, who's always been very helpful and very supportive of the show. She's moving on as editor of Grub Street to Pastures New. So I'd just like to formally thank her very much from all of us here on the show for all of her help in setting these things up. We've got a new relationship with new folks at Grub Street as well, so hopefully we'll be bringing you some more interviews of books that they have published later in the year.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. Looking forward to next week's. Even though I could technically go and listen to it, or listen to it now, watch it now, couldn't I, Nev?
Yeah.
But I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. So yes, join us next week for more of that interview, part 3. And right, we are going to start to wrap things up then. But Nev, where can people find out more about us online?
Yes, just go onto the socials, Facebook, X or Instagram, and search for Plane Talking UK. You can email the show podcast at planetalkinguk.com, and the website is all the W's, planetalkinguk.com. Our WhatsApp number, +44 7446 975 214. If you want to send us photos or comments about the show, suggestions, anything like that, just send us a WhatsApp. It's +44 7446 975 214. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room, as so many people have done tonight. Don't forget to give us a like as well. That helps the older YouTube algorithm. So just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. As you probably know, it costs us real money to keep the show on the road, as it were. So if you are able to assist with any kind of donations, we have Patreon and PayPal information available at the website at the top of the page.
Yes, and we would love to hear from you. Don't forget that email address. You can find out more details, as Nez said, via our website. All the contact details on there, so you can get in touch with us here at the show. And you can send us a picture, actually. I can put on my green screen here behind me, which should be nice. I know, Matt, you've got your green screen as well there in the master studio.
I have,
there.
yes. A photo from Mr. Warner for me.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah. So if you have an aviation-themed photo, we can pop that on behind us. Yeah, give you a little mention as well. Right, quick round robin. What are we up to next week? Mr. Bounds, start with you.
Oh, I'm going to the regular Keep Fit class tomorrow. Whether it's doing any good, I don't know, but you know, I feel as though I have to go. Just so happens that next door is a very good post office that also sells the most unbelievable sausage rolls as well.
Oh,
a nice warm one. And you would never hear me say this normally. I would imagine, but they do a couple of vegan ones as well, which I've tried, and they are really tasty. Not normally something I would entertain, but we might even buy a couple for our lunch tomorrow. So how about
I'm astounded.
It's amazing, isn't it? And various bits and pieces, but nothing too strenuous before next Wednesday, I don't think.
And Mr. Smith.
It's all go in the Smith household. It's operation time for Mama Smith tomorrow. So yeah, busy old time for that, really, just to sort of, you know, giving the attention and care that she needs. Bless her.
Well, we wish her all the best, as always.
Yeah.
For sure. She'll be fine.
Oh, I know.
Just give her a smart device so she can listen to the podcast while she's there.
Well, she's not having trouble sleeping, so there's no need to do that.
Oh, dear. Honestly. Next week, I will be starting my new job.
Exciting.
So it's exciting times. So, yeah. Indeed. I shall be settling into that.
Yes. So I should be here next week, but the following week, I'm on holiday.
You are on holiday, yes. I know you are away.
I'm off to the Isle of Wight for a week. So look out, Richard. Incoming WhatsApp at some point.
Well, I am trying. I've messaged Peter Collins, who Nev was talking about earlier. I'm going to try persuade Peter to join us next week on the show. I shall try. So he can explain to us why these LEAP engines are a bit of an issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Ingesting sand at a high rate of knots. Yes.
Yeah. John Falker said, new house, new job, 2 cats. What next, Carlos? Well, a new piece of aircraft on the wall.
Oh, yeah, good luck with that.
Oh, no. You didn't just hear that, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, someone else did.
Oh dear. Okay, you're in trouble. Love that for you.
Anyway, well, Well, yes, I'm on my own next week, just me and the boys next week, because someone's off to Malta for a week with the girls. So, yes, it'll just be me and Dave and Nigel here next week, entertaining. So, yeah, but I'll try and keep my fingers crossed that Gemma might bring me back a piece of aircraft when she comes back from Malta. You never know. Might be lucky. Does that a no?
Something like that. Yeah.
Right, okay then. Right, that's it for the show. Thanks to everyone for joining us this evening. Episode 570 of the show. Thanks to Nev
for
joining us this week.
You realise we've only got 30 episodes and we've got to plan a 600.
Oh, I know. We need to do that as well. Nev, thanks for joining us this week as always.
Pleasure.
And Matt, thank you as well for pushing all the buttons in the right order. We will be back next Wednesday for episode 571 of the show. So from Matt in the P2K Master Studio, from Nev in his studio, and from me here in the home studio, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy yourselves, and say goodbye, Nev.
Yes, have a good one. Take care, folks. See you next week. Bye-bye.
There we are. Done.
That's it. We've done it.
Indeed.
570.
Tanya says, by the way, we need more Dave and Nigel screen time. Just saying.
Oh, well, Dave is on the bed. Has he gone out? Oh, Dave's gone out. Are they both gone out? Oh, they're both gone out. Sorry.
Oh, dear.
Both gone out, unfortunately.
Oh, dear. Crisis.
Well, this is the thing. We're hoping when it gets cooler and cooler and cooler here, they will tend to stay in a bit more.
The lure of the roaring log fire.
Oh, my word, yes, I know. I actually chopped some wood up at the weekend and put it in because we've got a little log store on the side of the house.
Yeah.
So I put some wood in there ready for burning. So
very good.
Yeah, looking forward to that. It's one of the things that was the massive tick box when we brought this. When we looked around this house when we buy it was the fact that it got a wood burner in the front room.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah,
love that.
And apparently, according to my chimney sweep, a lot of people are having them put in.
Yeah, I don't know quite what the rules are on that because they're supposed to be sort of trying to phase them out, aren't they? But
no, apparently people are having them put in. Yeah.
Well, there is something quite magical about a roaring log fire, isn't there?
It's that smell, isn't it? The smell of the burning.
I know. Weirdly, the smell I can live without. It's the watching of the flames for me. It's those dancing flames that make it super lovely. Because it's not an option for poor Nev where he lives because it's a little bit too built up, I guess.
Oh no, there's plenty of log burning fires around here. The only thing is this is going to sound terribly snobbish, so can I just apologise in advance? So many of the houses around here have got incredible insulation, which is marvellous. But if you had a log fire, it would just be way too much. Some of the older houses in other parts of the county would benefit from it, though, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, do love a roaring log fire. It's one of the reasons why we're so excited about going back to this place in the Isle of Wight, because they've got a beautiful log burner and it was ever so easy to light and everything. It was just brilliant. You've got a perfect draw on it and everything. I suppose you've got all that to try and work out, Carlos, see what the draw's like and things like that.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. There wasn't a lot of wind on the day. We had it swept after we moved in. But the guy, my friend, who's our chimney sweep, put one of those little smoke bombs in.
Yeah, to see how it goes.
And it was not too bad a draw on a not very windy day. So all being well, it'll be good. Yeah. But
you're not old enough to remember the London smogs, are you?
Oh, yes.
But actually, they had the real problem in Dublin as well. When I first started going there in 1985, I was staying at the Tara Tower Hotel, and you could see down the road that the thick smog that was created by coal burning fires and all the rest of it. It was a real problem in the city at the time. I mean, much cleaner, for many years since. But back in the mid-80s, it was a real problem around the Dublin area. Less so in London, but back in the 50s and 60s, it was quite a problem. Yeah.
I do. Sorry, I'm going to get. No, I won't say political, but I do think the cost of living crisis has got a huge amount to do with the reasons why people are interested in looking at sort of like the burning of wood and stuff, because it's much much hotter. It's just cheaper, isn't it? This is the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, if you live in rural areas, I know that obviously we're in a lot more rural area now, but where my dad lives, the farmers are begging him to come out with his tractor when they have trees fall and to get rid of the trees.
Really?
So, of course, my dad is like, oh, great. Another year's worth of free firewood.
Absolutely.
But
perhaps he could rescue one for you going forward.
That is fun enough. Is going to be the WhatsApp that I send very soon.
Excellent. Yes. Just keep your eyes peeled, Papa. Keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, and because we're on oil heating here, not gas. So that's another which I like, because you fill a tank. That's it. Cost done. No more.
True. Yeah.
Monthlies.
Yeah.
Very, very.
Got to be organised though, because the trouble is it can be a nightmare if you run out for many, many reasons, not least of which trying to bleed the system and all that kind of thing. So
that's why this has got a fancy digital thingy-majig.
I know, but we had one of those.
It tells you.
It was more about one's abilities to be able to order enough in time. That was the issue.
Oh no!
But,
I won't forget about that. Trust me. But
anyway, riveting.
Right, we better let these people go. We'll let these wonderful listeners. There's still loads of people in the chat room listening to us waffle on.
I know.
Love it. Excellent. Right, fingers crossed. I'll try and get Peter on next week. I shall badger him this weekend to get him on next week. Thanks everyone again for tuning in tonight. Lovely to see you all as always, our YouTube family in the chat room. And Mr. Flag, Richard, I will get hold of you at some point soon in regards to having some having a little session with the drones, because Richard's keeps asking when I'm going to go and join him for a DJI training session. So I will join him at some point. So that's it. Nev, would you like to say goodbye to everyone? And we'll say good night.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining us in the chat room. Really interesting conversations. Had a very wide range of subjects to talk about tonight as well, which was really nice indeed. So I hope you have a nice rest of the week and the weekend. We'll be back 7 o'clock UK time on Wednesday of next week. In the meantime, bye for now.